Hey folks, this is Kalani. I want to talk to you about Diablo 3 and farming. Now, you may have experienced the Crypt of the Ancient runs, the core runs, maybe even the Royal Audience runs, and you're thinking, wow, these are brilliant, but how in the hell did people come up with these? And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what makes a farming run or method efficient and worthwhile. So first things first, we need to decide what exactly are we farming. Are we focusing on one thing in particular? For example, are we focusing on just experience, or do we want just loot? Do we sacrifice experience for more loot, or do we want a bit of both? So there are small discrepancies between farming for experience and farming for loot, most notably in Kota runs versus core runs, where you're expected to get more loot in a core run but more experience in a Kota run. Now this is because essentially experience now relies on mob density. If the run or method has high mob density, you can clear it really quickly and you can reset the game and get back there very easily. That's a good experience run, simply because the amount of monsters you're killing per hour, or per time spent there, is quite high. Now you also need to balance that with torment difficulty, because if you're killing them way too fast on a lower torment and you can kill them just as fast on a higher torment, you may as well go that extra mile, bump it up a few torment levels and clear through them at the same speed, but getting so much more experience for it, which is really, really nice. When it comes to farming loot, things are a little different. Now, what you essentially want are loot table rolls. Now this means that you need to do anything and everything to get potential loot. So killing monsters, there's a chance to get loot. Opening chests, there's a chance to get loot. Breaking objects, a chance to get loot. All of these chances to get loot, roll a die on the loot table to decide whether you get loot or not and what you get. Obviously the more times you roll, the higher chance of getting loot. So the reason why this is interesting is because you can essentially substitute mob density with chest density or object density, meaning that runs where you can break a lot of objects or open a lot of chests suddenly become so much better for loot rather than experience, because you're not necessarily killing anything, so you don't get the experience, but you do get a lot more loot rolls, which is what we want while farming loot. Now, the curious thing about this is that torment levels affect it a little differently. So it tells us that torment levels increase the chance for a legendary, but we don't exactly know what that chance is. So if you're clearing things stupidly fast on a lower torment difficulty, it might actually be more beneficial simply because you can run around getting all the chests, clear out all the mobs in one shot. On the flip side, if you've got a place with a lot of objects to break and a lot of chests, but not necessarily a lot of monsters, you can crank it right up on torment, because effectively the difficulty isn't going to change. If you're skipping mobs and not killing them, you can run around getting torment 6 chests and objects and not really bother with the monsters. So it's a little flippy when it comes to loot, which is kind of fun. Now, as a final note, for any and all farming methods, you need to be able to repeat it successfully, easily and quickly. So if there is, for an example, a checkpoint right next to where you can farm or start the route, or maybe midway through the route and you can kind of do a little backtrack and run around in a circle, whatever it is, if you can leave fast and go straight back into a fresh game where you need to be to start farming, that is perfect. Now this all might be fine and dandy for the runs that we've currently got. Obviously they do very well, that's why they're popular. But what about runs that haven't been discovered yet? There may be more efficient runs out there, and you may wander across one without realising. Now the reason why I'm doing this is so people can kind of think, ooh, that area had a lot of chests, ooh, that area had one hell of a lot of mobs, maybe people would be interested in farming this. So just kind of open your eyes to where you're going through the game, and I've been playing through the game repeatedly trying to find a few other niche locations for these farming events or farming routes. Now the other side of that is obviously we don't know a great deal about Reaper of Souls, and going into Reaper of Souls some folk might find some very efficient farming methods very early on if they know exactly what they're looking for. So that's another reason. So let's take 2 very popular examples. Now these are Crypt of the Ancients and core runs, one's for experience and one's for loot. If you're not familiar with these, there'll be links on the screen to a little tutorial of how to run them. Now we'll start with Crypt of the Ancients. First and foremost, it's very easy to get back to. You literally teleport straight to the Crypt of the Ancients every new game you make. That makes this absurdly perfect. That is ridiculous. ridiculous for experience per hour. The second part, mob density, is great. It is really, really strangely amazing in here. I mean, for everywhere else to not have this kind of mob density, while this place does, is kind of shocking. But you can smash your way through mobs incredibly easily. There's so many grouped up, it's fantastic. And then you reset the game, you leave, and you go straight back in. That's a perfect run. Core runs, on the other hand, are amazing for loot. They have everything we're looking for. They have good mob density, they have good chest density, and good object density. The three things that we want to increase loot tables are there. When you start your new game, you go through your town portal, you're at one end of the run, you work your way through to the other end of the run, where there's a waypoint you take back to town to log out instantly. You get back in, you go straight to the other end and work your way through again. The core runs are quick, they're simple, good mob density, good chest density, good object density. Everything you're looking for in a loot run. The only obvious glaring problem with some of these runs is that there's not a great deal of diversity, meaning that people could be doing this for quite a long time if other runs are not found. That sort of limits what people are doing in-game, meaning that they might burn out, and less people playing the game is less fun in the game overall, which kinda sucks. So a variety of farming methods is nice and healthy, so we can happily change it up now and again. Variety is the spice of life, and all that good stuff. So if you have any questions or queries, maybe new farming methods, please leave them in the comments below, and we can have a nice little discussion down there. But that's it for now. That's kind of all I really wanted to vent at the screen about farming, so there we go. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.